Well, thanks for coming out. My name's Jim Pettit. I'm the president and CEO of Aben Resources. So here's a little disclaimer. We'll start with the investment highlights. Basically, it breaks down into these four pieces. It's a high-grade discovery as of this year. We started with our first hole. We came into a zone just below the holes we drilled last year. Gave us some good insight. It was super high grade. It was 10 meters of 38 grams. Can't beat that. The market responded beautifully. So what we did is we quickly went to the market, raised some money, raised $5.2 million in a regular dollar flow through. Eric Sprott took $2 million of it. It's allowed us to expand our drill program substantially. It was originally designed for 18 holes roughly. We're now up to 36. Winter's closing in and that, and I don't think we're going to be long for the world up there. But we've got 24 holes still to drill, or still to report on. So we've got news flow going through into December. We've got year-round news flow now. We've got two projects that are in addition to our main project, which is the Forest Kerr project in the Golden Triangle. Those will allow us to avoid potentially what you see there in our graph. We have great summers, lots of volume, everything's great, and then things just slow down in the rest of the year. The seasonality up there is roughly 4 to 5 months is max that you can get for a work program. So you try to pack as much success into that as you can. But now we've added a early stage exploration program in Saskatchewan, and we've got another project up in Yukon. We can fit those into this low area for the rest of the year. It'll give us more to talk about. Management for this company is, we've got a really good group. Ron Nedlitsky is a legend in the Golden Triangle area. He's our chairman. He's been responsible for discovery of Snip, Neskate Creek, Brewery Creek, to name a few. Tim Termundi is also on the board. He's pretty active with me. He and Ron actually sold Copper Canyon to the Galore Creek group a few years back. I sold my last project, my last company to New Gold. It was called Bayfield. I sold it in 2014. So we've got, we've got some good background in terms of the geology of the area and some good M&A experience. Cornell's the geo. He's got a lot of experience in central BC, and he knows this area extremely well. As far as, here, this will give you an indication of track record. You can see what happened when you take a small company and take it through to a process that it gets bought out. Look at the charts. It's an example of what you can achieve. The discovery phase that we're in right now is considered one of the best phases, the best phase to be in, because that's where you get the most lift in the stock. And then when you start getting into development, that chart will either back off a bit, retrace, and then flatline for a while. There's nothing like high-grade discovery. So the Golden Triangle, if you're not familiar, northwestern British Columbia, there's a lot of resources up there. You've got past producing mines like the SK, probably one of the richest mines in the world when it was operating, gold, silver, Snip, and if you want to go way back, Premier, etc. There is also a lot of undeveloped deposits up there that are just waiting for the commodity price to come back. With the KSM deposits and Galore Creek, you've probably got some of the largest undeveloped deposits on the planet. And now you've got Bruce Jack opened up a few years ago, very high grade gold mine, and you've got Red Christ in the north part of the Golden Triangle, higher grade copper deposit. So it's well known for discovery potential. I put the project together. There's 3 claim groups, plus on the white I staked myself. We put it together, selected these companies that were the claim group owners, the 3 different groups. It's because of this picture. It's got the Kerr fault running right through the middle of it. From top to bottom, it's almost 50 kilometers long. That Kerr fault we look at as a major driver an engine for a lot of what happens up in the area geologically. You have to have the host lithology. You know, that's a given. The driver, you got to have the intrusives and the structure, which is the fault. So we felt it would give us a good head start. And then we assembled the 3 different claim groups. We got all the data with it. 35 years worth of data. There was 120 drill holes, over 20,000 soil samples and rock samples, and a lot of geophysics was done in the past, old geophysics. What we've got here, this gives you a little bit of a structural complex. Subfaults coming off the Kerr fault. These are what drive the fluids into the area that we're currently drilling on, which is the north boundary zone. We have access to a lot of things that they didn't have back then in the old days. Access. It's not strictly fixed wing in and out now. You've got a highway running up there. We've got power. There's enough power being generated for 20 mines to be developed here. And they didn't really do this for the population because you've only got 3 small towns in this part of British Columbia. Our property covers, what is it, 27,000 hectares. So it's a good sized project. What this property came with was a ground geochem survey. Pretty extensive one. It's 6 kilometers long, a couple kilometers wide. We took it, refined it, added to it, and this is what we've come up with, is what we call the boundary zone. It was the #1 target on this whole property that when we did our data compilation, we came up with this. This is the place we want to go. It only had 1 hole drilled on it by Noranda years ago, and it was also 10 meters of 35 grams, 34 grams. I mean, and not followed up. They were looking for a different style deposit. But this geophysics or geochem survey gave us a lot of info, and that's where we started drilling. It's our first target out of about 14 priority targets. 3 years, we're into it 3 years now. We're still on the first target. This gives you a stylized interpretation of this geophysical or geochem presence. It's a gold, silver, copper geochem anomaly. It's huge. So far, we've hit mineralization in every hole. And, you know, some higher, some lower, whatever. The holes are coming out as they come out, fairly widely, broadly mineralized. And that's a vital concern to us. We stepped out to the south about 1.5 kilometers just recently and put out those results from those holes. They were very broadly mineralized, lower grade than the initial north boundary zone, but you've got very broad, 100 meters of. It might be 1 to 3 grams instead of, 6 meters of 30-something grams. We're excited by it because it's 1.5 kilometers south. And I've got here some cross sections. Gives you the idea of the mineralizing content of these holes. These are cross sections taken of the discovery hole for this year, and you can see the amount of mineralizing or sections of it, and they're independent of each other. There's 4 sections in that one hole with the big spike. That was really, really a great hole. This is it's the geochem, the higher end of the geochem anomalies that we're looking at here, and it gives you an idea of where we drilled the south boundary zone. Those 2 holes, it actually is 3 holes. 2 of them are above and below each other. Very broadly mineralized. Here's the cross sections that you got to look at, and it gives you an idea. Those are not in the 30-gram range. They're more like the high end would be 6-7 grams. But there's an awful lot of mineralization there. You're looking at 100 meters basically in each hole. Going forward, we've got the Chico project in Saskatchewan, which will help us out with our off-season. This is right tied on to SSR where they're drilling on behalf of, well, they bought the Cloud Resources mine. We're attached right to them, and then we've got the Justin property in the Yukon. Used to be here. Anyways, It's tied right on a golden predator, and we can get up in there in the new year. We've done a lot of work up there. We haven't drilled yet, but we'll get there. There's golden predator. This is going to cause a little excitement later this year. We've got some results coming back from trenching. Thanks.